All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Um, couple things added in the message center. I'm not going to give the class on support and resistance here in about 30 minutes. Reason being is I have some material on that that I am trying to use to broadcast to kind of go off or just not go strictly off of the charts, but to give some PowerPoint type information that I have. But I don't have it in the right format to broadcast. So I turn that over to my tech guys, and we'll have that available Monday. And I will do two classes on Monday in that regard. Okay. Let's go take a look here at our positions. So take a look at the market. RD, you have a question here about chat on weeklies, the pro and cons. Yeah, I'd be happy to go and look at those here with you as well here. Let's start with Boeing. Okay, let's start with Boeing and let's start Boeing. Let's zoom out and let's look at big picture here. Let's kind of push in here and look at this candle on Boeing. Okay. And my question to you is, and this is the question that we always have to ask, is this significant? Is the price action significant? We can spot many times where Boeing has had similar candles and gone higher. We can also spot times where Boeing has had similar candles and gone lower. Okay. Now this isn't something that's entirely uncommon for Boeing to move a buck and a half on any given day. Okay. So how do we go about and look? Hey, you know what? We're still in vibe. We're still in trend rider. We're still above the 7. How do we say, you know what? Boeing's ready to break down and die here, or you know what? This is just a minor pullback, and Boeing's still in a really nice position. Okay. Well, let's go back here to the hourly chart. And one of the things that we've looked at every time Boeing is dipped is we've looked at how the lows have continued to get higher and the highs have continued to get higher. So we break out into a new high just recently. Okay, we pull back. What we don't want to see is going down to a new low. Okay, now I mentioned earlier 137. I'd be pretty concerned if we started to break 137 here on Boeing. It didn't go all the way down to 137 before bouncing, but it's had a minor pullback. Think about what would happen in the next into the close if Boeing were to rally back 50 cents. What would the chart then look like? Well, we wouldn't be really concerned at all, would we? If it fell another 50 cents, would we have reason for concern? Sure. Okay. So, yes, can Boeing have hit its top all time and it's ready to tank? It's ready to come all the way back down to 133? Sure, that is a possibility. But for now, the positive momentum continues. The lows continue to get higher. The highs continue to get higher, and it's kind of a product of a low volume market. The activity on Boeing overall over the last week and a half here. Okay. Um, so Boeing, no plans for any changes here. Obviously, it could shift, it could change, but we'll address that as we head into the close. Nucor. Okay, Nucor up about 61 cents a percent, a little over a percent. I know John's been talking a little bit about some of the coal, a little bit about some of the steel here. We're seeing money rotate into Nucor very nicely here. Price target on Nucor is a little bit difficult to come up with. Why do I say that? Well, because we've been dealing with a series of higher lows and higher highs. So how high does it decide to go to? We can kind of back this out into a weekly chart. You can kind of see the strength here in the weekly chart to go up above 55 into the 57 area is about what we're expecting to see here for Nucor. But we'll kind of ride this as it goes. As it continues to ride the upper band, we'll continue to ride Nucor higher. Okay. Then we have Chesapeake Energy. which is up on the week. It's down about 12 cents here today. It's had a little bit of volatility today, kind of like yesterday. Notice how similar, the last end of this hourly chart is relative to Boeing. Okay, they have a lot of similarities, even in the percentage moves. Boeing, yes, it seems like a lot more because a dollar, Chesapeake's going to move 40 cents, Boeing's going to move a dollar, but the percentage moves are about the same. But we continue to get our lows continue to get higher. That continues to bode well here for Chesapeake. So as far as those three positions, in a good spot. Look, the market itself had a minor pullback. We mentioned yesterday that the market in the short term, there's a little bit overbought here. To see it pull back a little bit would not be a major surprise. Even 7, 8, 9 points wouldn't be a shocker or even a huge deal. Okay, for the market. It's come off of its highs. This is what the hourly looks like here. To see some bouncing in the 1820, 1840 area for the market into year-end potential, definitely possible. But the positive momentum continues overall within the market. Okay. Let's go take a look here. Sorry, just going through here. Costco. Yeah, Costco. Let's take a look at this kind of variety of charts. Okay, and Costco here had every reason to go up yesterday and really didn't. It had a positive catalyst. Started to then strengthen here again today. Has weakened a little bit, down about 8 cents. Not really technically significant. But when we're talking Costco, Johnson & Johnson, and Bank of America. All three very similar charts. My favorite of the three is Bank of America. Okay, in fact, I mentioned to you yesterday, I stepped in, I bought a little bit of Bank of America. Johnson & Johnson worries me for the fact that it is pretty much a consumer staple. Those are lagging. Interest rates going up. Does that weigh on Johnson & Johnson? Technically, Johnson & Johnson still is bullish, but there is that concern there. And with Costco, there's a little bit of that concern as well. The volumes in this pullback were pretty heavy. Came down to where we would expect it to pull back to 118, 116. Very nice reversal on the Fed. With Costco, the 7 isn't significant. Why is the 7 not significant? Because the stock is in a consolidation mode. It's not trending, right? It's consolidating. So here you got to pick out your spot and say, okay, where is enough here with Costco? For me, if Costco were to start to break below 118, that's where I'd be concerned of further downside. But still above 118, and with what's going on with the daily chart, I would expect to see more upside here in Costco overall. Okay. Qualcomm. Okay, we talked about Qualcomm yesterday. We've talked about the options and whatnot there. And Qualcomm's up about 42 cents here today, starting to pierce the upper band. Broke above 74 for a brief moment, has since retreated just a touch, but still in an overall bullish position. This has been a bullish consolidation overall here for Qualcomm, and one of my favorite setups out there on the board. Okay. USO. We talked a little about USO yesterday. USO getting a lift here today as the euro is moving higher and the dollar is weakening. We're seeing strength come in here to oil. I had mentioned BNO earlier today and how this was on a nice breakout. And one of you emailed me and said the BNO options are not very good, and you're right. The BNO options, the spreads are real high. They're not very liquid. It's much easier to trade the USO than the BNO. So if you're going to trade the BNO, I would probably use stock, and then with the USO, deal with options there. Okay. Alrighty. Twitter. Okay, Twitter. Twitter down about 460 here. Hit with a downgrade. We talked about some of the volumes yesterday being extremely elevated. why is Twitter down? Well, it's down on the downgrade, right? I mean, with such a, the volatility here in Twitter, it's pretty much a day trader stock right now, swing trader stock right now. And how far can it pull back? How far can it go up? Look, for me, for Twitter, there's nothing in the technicals on a daily basis that I can really base anything off of. So for me with Twitter, what it comes down to is really shorter term charts and volumes. Okay, things like the 15-minute chart and where these volumes are. We had huge volumes in this $70 area. The fact that Twitter's breaking below $70 on a gap down makes Twitter something where I'd want to be looking at it from a short side as long as it's trading below 70 and until it kind of gets back into its next volume area down around 66, 65. But it becomes much more of a day trade, much more of a fast-paced, fast-moving trade than a swing type of a trade there. Yeah, Dow. Dow Chemical. These chemical companies have been doing pretty well. Dow Chemicals continued its bullish mark. There's really no sign of Dow kind of pulling back or Dow in any sort of trouble here. Dow is continuing to move higher. Price target here, just from a technical standpoint, you're probably looking at it's probably achieved its price target, but this consolidation was so long and the volumes on this breakout have been so good that I wouldn't underestimate how far that it can go. The other chemical companies, Huntsman, continues to be in a strong upward trend. DuPont continues to move. They continue to be in positions where you just continue to ride them. And they're not really worth anything major there. Okay. Yeah, Cenex, CENX here, and this is Century Aluminum's just really been moving up. Alcoa has been doing very well. ACH is an interesting one. This is Aluminum Corp of China. It hasn't performed with some of the others, but has some really interesting upside action to it today. Aluminum, steel, coal, they're all doing the same thing. Okay, they're all doing the same thing. Some have broken out earlier than others. Some are kind of waiting and just starting to break out, but they are all in a very similar position. Take a look at Kalu, this Kaiser Aluminum. This one here has a very bullish chart overall, and these are things where any small pullback really becomes a buy, not a worry that hey, it's ready to reverse. If you pull these something like Century Aluminum up on a weekly chart, you don't get any of the overbought that you see on some of the shorter term charts. Okay, and that's a very interesting position for these to be in, where long term they're building a nice base and strong breakout potential. Short term, maybe they're a little overbought, but these bode really well as they head into 2014. This aluminum, this steel, coal. Those of you who remember trading 2007, 2008, the broader markets, the S&P hit a top in 2007. Okay, the S&P hit a long-term top in 2007, but what happened in 2008? Were these stocks, U.S. Steel, went from 80 to 180. Even though the market itself never really went up, never set new highs, these material stocks, they were kind of the last movers. And generally in a bull market cycle, the material stocks are the ones that are the late cyclers. They're the ones that go up the most at the end. Okay, and they are just showing signs of really starting to establish uptrends. Yes, maybe the market doesn't go up in 2014, but these stocks, the Century Aluminums, the steels, the coals, they are showing major upside action that bodes well for 2014. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Darren, MHFI. You've hit me with one I'm not familiar with from a fundamental standpoint. I mean, McGraw-Hill Publishing, the uptrends there. Yeah, this is like many others out there, continues to close in the upper band. Really continues to go higher there. Harris Corp, similar. You do have a steepening up the upward trend, okay? And while a steepening of the upward trend is always nice, it always makes a little bit of concern for a reversal here. Harris Corp does have some overbought conditions in play with it. Harris Corp basically, for me, if I were in this, if it were to hold 70, I'd hold it over the weekend. If not, I would probably bow out just simply because of some of the overbought conditions within the various oscillators that are out there. It's had a beautiful run, great volumes, but you're dealing with a low volume stock. You're dealing with a smaller cap. To have a $2 pullback on a small down move in the market, the risk is just much higher. But again, the bullishness is still there. There's just nothing really bearish to even comment other than you're getting a little far from the 7, and Harris does a pretty good job of pretty much following that 7 here. Okay. FedEx and UPS. FedEx here up about 20 cents. UPS here up about 20 cents. Look, even with all the supposedly bad news out there, they continue to march higher. You can argue that this whole mess with Amazon and UPS is actually a really good sign for UPS. Okay, and UPS has held up well in it, continues to ride the upper band. FedEx breakout continues to hold. Look, the FedEx, the Boeing charts, they're very similar. Can FedEx pull back $1 at any given moment? Absolutely. But when you look at FedEx kind of even shorter term, the lows continue to get higher. The highs continue to get higher. It's still in a very bullish position. And so don't let some sort of swing from 144 down to 143 kind of make you think, "Ooh, FedEx is in trouble," or there's something really wrong here with that stock. Okay. Yeah, Jones, really, really good observation. Big recall out of GM, right? With China, 1.5 million cars holding up well. I mean, the recalls are I don't want to say a common thing with the automakers, but they are something that the market deals with on a consistent basis. It's not necessarily a bearish event every time they have a large recall. Uh, but you're right. It is showing some nice support in the face of that news. What I like is that in the face of the news on GM, there's not a whole lot of volume coming in. So what's that saying? That's saying people aren't concerned. The large fund managers, they're not concerned. They don't care. That big deal. They're not putting any sort of volume, any sort of play. They're not reacting by selling. They're not reacting by buying. That tends to bode well for the current trend of GM, and very well overall for what's happening there. Okay. Is GM kind of showing signs of wanting to go into a consolidation? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, Jake, not a happy guy today. Never saw you guys working on that Netflix lot. Okay. Yeah, I know some of you are running some trades or doing some trades via the chat. Have fun. You'll notice we're not really commenting on those, as those are more day trades. I think AK, you're terming them correctly as lottos. So have fun with those and great. But overall, overall you see some of the emotion and some of the whipsaws that can kind of come around that. Okay. Apple here down about $4. To me, Apple's getting close to a buy point. Okay, we talked about it on this jump up here. News related. It was news that basically it had bled lower because the news never came out. And now it's bleeding lower after the news. down into about the 560 area. On my notes, I have written buy between 555 and 560. Now, if it gaps up real big, that's not going to matter. I'll never be able to get in, but I would like to see maybe in a little bit weaker Monday, be able to start to see some volumes come into it and potentially be a buyer here of Apple heading in on Monday here. But I think it's getting close to a buy point, going down to this 560 and anywhere in those 560, 560, 555, we start to see signs of life. That's kind of where I would be looking to get in there. Okay. Um, Nucor Vibe Trade. Okay, Richard. Yeah, Nucor Vibe Trade. That's working pretty nicely here. Will UPS use drone to to do door delivery? Yeah, that whole drone concept. I know I know that's an exciting concept for the delivery business. The FedEx talked about it on 60 Minutes and whatnot, but there's still a lot of flaws to work out with that, and I don't know if that will take off anytime too soon. Okay. Anyone else in Bank of America? Jimmy, I mentioned yesterday I bought some Bank of America. Did get into some of that. Okay. Max, really good question. Jeff, do you have any bearish play? And Max, I spent about a half hour this morning just going through and saying, can I find something that I can be bearish on? Look, I prefer to play the bearish side of the market. Historically, over the years, that's my preference. Um, Unfortunately, none of that's in there. I looked at the utilities, right? I mean, do we have anything in utilities that we could be bearish on? Well, you know, it's not as bullish as some of the other things, but it's not really in an overly bearish position. I did go take a look at LinkedIn. I talked LinkedIn yesterday, breaks below 218. That LinkedIn is a very nice downside trade here at this position. LinkedIn is probably one of my favorite bearish plays with a 220 stop. Okay. But as far as overall in the market, even though some of the major laggards have really turned to leaders, something like IBM. In the short term, do I think IBM can have a nice pullback to the 180, 178 area? Yes. If I had to go play a bearish play that I had to hold for 2 weeks, IBM, LinkedIn, they would be ones that I would be looking at. Even something like Caterpillar would kind of interest me just simply from an overbought position. But that's really all I'm playing is that overbought if I'm looking at it from a bearish aspect. Okay, I do find some of the gold miners interesting from a potential bearish perspective, but I do think it's just a little bit too early just yet. But the GDX, we're seeing the euro move higher, and these gold miners not really reacting to it. Uh, the overall trend, we're getting a consolidation down here below 22. Any fresh move below the 7-day moving average on the gold miners, I think is a fantastic setup from a bearish standpoint. Other than that, even you take a look at something like Baidu yesterday and you say, well, it's starting to break below the 7. The pop risk in these is so high because of what the trends are. Most bearish plays are really going against the trend, and so you have some of that real upside, that pop risk that comes into them. Okay. Alrighty. Well, so I will be on here. I will be back here in a little bit. I will be off, kind of just going through charts, going through different stocks, and I'm preparing. During this last week of the year, generally I spend a lot of time looking at yearly performance on various stocks and looking at kind of building a 2014 watch list. I will be sharing some of that next week as I continue to prepare that. I will talk about some of the dogs of the Dow. But I'll be back on a little bit later today. Again, not going to do the support and resistance class here today, simply a technology issue. There's some things I want to be able to share with you that I don't have in a position to be able to broadcast them as clearly as I would like. So I will do that on Monday, as well as the third installment of the technical analysis class, where we start to break into the different types of indicators. So we'll do both of those Monday, and again, those will both be recorded. Okay. RD, can I look at your 834 questions, please? Yeah, let me go back here to 834. 834. Give me just a second here. 834. Maybe I'm missing something. Your 834 question. Help me understand there, RD. Still backtracking and looking here. All right, if you can help me understand. I'm not sure if you're referring to 834 the time. Maybe you're on a different time than I am. Let me go back to 934 on mine. Okay, the chat on the weeklies, the pros and cons, figure out the best risk reward scenario. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, RD. Okay, absolutely, RD. In fact, I was just going to stop this recording and start a brand new recording to do that. Okay. Yes, still holding our positions. Still holding on to Boeing. Nothing significant here. Still holding on to Nucor. Continues to move in its trend. Chesapeake, nothing significant in the action. Still holding on to those. Would like to rotate into a little bit of Tesoro. We're starting to see a little bit of a bounce come into Tesoro. We may get that opportunity into the close. I'm guessing it'll be. I'm guessing it'll probably be Monday that it really kind of gets to where it's in a confirming spot. But we may see that into the close here today that we do react to. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for hopping on. I'll be back here in just a second to talk some of these, some of the weekly options. Talk to you soon.